Hello everybody and welcome back to Shane's Squirrel Shack, where we talk about autism awareness and all of that, and I want to thank all of you guys for tuning into another video today. Today we're going to step it back just a little bit. We're going to talk about autism and play. So we're going to kind of dive back a little bit into my childhood a little for this one and talk about, my overcoming of, having a hard time with play-based activities. And the why. Why does someone like me on the spectrum struggle with something like this? And I think we're going to step into the why right away. And to do that, we got to go back to when I was a little kid. So to set the scene, I'm maybe like 3-5 years old. I don't have really too many specifics, but I can tell you some general things. And basically, the reasoning, at least my interpretation of why someone like me doesn't want to engage in play-based activity is you look at someone on the spectrum who's young. They have a hard time with social skills already. So with that, they're already more withdrawn into their world instead of the world. And once you're slightly more isolated like that and not kind of catching onto the curve of presenting and possessing such social skills, you become a lot more possessive over the few things that you have. And that stems into the idea of fixation. So, but for this case, we're going to talk about how it affects, in the play sense of things. So you look at me, for example, and I don't have really any friends. I have no idea how to engage with the outer world, yet no interest in engaging with the outer world. And that's something with autism as well. It's not every case is, oh, I don't know how to relate to the outer world and I really want to. It's this longing. A lot of us on the spectrum have no damn interest. We're like, I'm happy in my little sandbox right over here and I don't want anybody coming near me. And I'll get to that in a second. There's been some situations like that before. But as a kid, when I don't have really any friends or anything like that and I have my toys, some of the only things that I have that I understand, that I am comfortable with. And when I'm asked to give that up to someone that I don't know, who's unfamiliar, and that I don't have an interest in engaging with, that causes a meltdown right there, because I don't have an interest in giving up something that I hold so dear to me, because it's one of the few things I understand in this world that I don't understand a damn thing about. That upsets me. I don't want to give that up, because I'm already now having to be forced to step into this world of unfamiliarity in several forms. Social, giving routine change, kind of facing the unexpected. Something that I've kind of looked into a little bit is folks like to use the word sameness. The kind of routine, and that can even be used in play. I have my way of wanting to play with my certain dolls or toys and all of that. And then when someone presents a different way of playing it, and that's why I would kind of push people away from playing, it's like, this isn't my way of doing it. I don't have an interest in it. I'm having a meltdown now because this isn't going my way. This goes away from the idea of sameness. This is unfamiliar. And when an autistic is presented something unfamiliar outside of their routine, oh, we shut down, man. We shut down so fast. Not so much for me anymore, but as a 4-year-old or as a younger kid, boom, shut down, meltdown. I'm crying. I'm presenting agitation towards others. I'm getting in trouble by the teachers and all of that. That was more when I was younger. Now we can go a little more. Maybe when I was like 9 or 10. I remember I was really new to this school. I had just moved out of Chicago, and this is my first week at a new school. And we had to play Foursquare in gym. And I would not let anyone into my set of 4 squares. And we were supposed to alternate, kind of play with others and all of that. I wouldn't allow anyone by my 4 square. I'm like, this is mine. No one's getting near it because I have no interest in socializing with you kids. I have no clue who you are. This is already unfamiliar to me. This is already too much stimulation going on, too much unfamiliarity. I am a mess. And now you want me to play with all these other kids? I have no idea who they are. On top of being into a new school, having a new student aid, just so much of this, I would like, no, leave me alone. I don't want to play with anybody. No. And it's just because we're protecting ourselves in a way. At least I was. I didn't want to give up how I did things. And another thing that I want to kind of go over is sometimes when we do engage with play, we do it in a way that's not based off of how it should be done. Now, to give you an example, I used to play with dolls. I used to have like doll houses and all of that. Now, when you play with dolls, I mean, you're kind of trying to practice and implement real life things, in a sense, to dolls in a fictitious setting. In a dollhouse, you stage a dinner, you have everyone in a living room, you pet a horse, kind of things like that. I wouldn't catch on to that. I wouldn't do what others were doing. How I would do things is I would pretend that there was a tornado and I would rip the dollhouse from the ground, throw it against the wall, throw all the people and the things. There'd be a mess in the basement or the living room or wherever I was doing this. It was like, whoa, this isn't how a kid's supposed to play with this. But that's how I did it. That's how I did it. I didn't understand. And the one thing that helped me overcome that was experience, was, being in that situation of, it almost had to be repetitive for me in a sense. It almost had to be repetitive, where it was something that I had an interest in learning, that I was so happened to be around other people. One of those things was partaking in cross country in high school. My freshman year was a huge transition year. I was still going through a lot of things on the spectrum, but it was around a turning point where I'm like, change needs to happen so I'm not miserable in high school. So I was in cross country, and it was an adjustment for me to be on like a team setting, because I was always denied from teams and never made any sports teams really in middle school. And what got me in a sense of doing play, and I say that very loosely, at like a teenage age, was just partaking in something I enjoyed around people. And you stop getting into a sense of worrying about all these other people, and I almost became numb to it. And then once I kind of started seeing how things worked, I kind of got over that defensive play mode, and was like, I kind of got more interested in everything around me, and that kind of blossomed in me kind of really taking an interest of leading a team, leading the activities itself, to where I became a team captain, man. I was the guy holding off a foursquare thing, not letting people play with me and not partaking in anything that I had zero interest in, to being a team captain in my senior year of high school, to taking on wanting to be a manager, to being known as a team player at whatever job I worked at. And that all came from someone who wouldn't let anyone in his foursquare, to not let anyone play with the toys he had, to back his brother and sister off and yell at them as a toddler when they wanted to play with me. So it's all about kind of looking back and realizing, man, look where I've come from. And, if you're a parent, or if you're someone with someone in your life close to you with someone on the spectrum who's going through things like this, it is possible, to overcome that. And I think just incorporating something that they're familiar with, figure out what maybe their fixation is in a sense, and find out, hey, can we incorporate other children into this? You gotta do early intervention. You gotta implement this as soon as possible. And I say that with a sense of urgency. And granted, it took me a little while to do it, but, have that implemented into me. But it could, just get these kids going young, alright? Get them, figure out what, I think everyone on the spectrum, including myself, still has fixations. Figure out what theirs is, find a way to incorporate other children into it, and I think it can only blossom from there, but those would be my recommendations for starting steps for that. So, again, that's my story and what I have to say about autism and play. I hope you gained something from this. I hope you enjoyed what you heard. And thank you so much for hanging out in the Squirrel Shack. I hope to see you guys again. Thank you.